Now they say that these little bastards can live on surfaces for up to 3 hours. But you see, I wouldn't blame them for sticking around a little bit longer, because this is, in fact, a Lamborghini. And I must say, I don't usually carry around Lysol or wear masks, but these are very different times for car reviews. But nonetheless, O'Gara Coach of La Jolla has given me the opportunity to film in front of a Lamborghini Urus, so I figured I'd risk infection. And if you guys are, well, interested in the specific Lamborghini, it is for sale, along with a bunch of other really cool stuff in the link below. But in the meantime, I'm filming in front of a Lamborghini. How's it going, guys? Dylan from If Cars Could Talk, and I hope everybody's doing well today. Now, today is another continuation of my series, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, where I tell you what the hell to expect when you actually drive your exotics. Now, today's example only has 16,000 miles. I know your Corolla has 100,000, but you have to admit, people don't exactly drive Lamborghinis, and this thing isn't exactly old yet either. And the other thing is, well, since you're trying to take advantage of its depreciation now, secondhand, you also need to know that these are off their 3-year warranties. So you might need to use those depreciation savings, well, for maintenance. All right, now before we continue, allow me to, well, give you one of my famous cheesy voiceovers to explain to you exactly how we can use the words SUV and Lamborghini in the same sentence.
Well, 2 reasons. Believe it or not, this is not Lamborghini's first SUV. That's right, in the 80s they made something called the LM002. No, not exactly the typical name for a Lamborghini. Instead of bearing the name of a famous dead bull rider, it more has the name of a glorified toaster from a Terminator movie. They were intended to be used by the Italian military, but that didn't happen too much since they were probably too busy sipping cappuccinos, and they certainly weren't meant to roam the streets of Beverly Hills or fill their trunks with groceries. Now, the second reason is the luxury SUV market has exploded, mainly because of little SUV-sized steps we've taken in the form of the introduction of the BMW X5 to the blasphemy of the Porsche Cayenne. Slowly, these luxury SUVs have allowed us to rationalize, even justify in our heads, to take a hop and a skip to $200,000 plus glorified SUVs. Now, people are not only willing, but begging to put their names down for supercar-priced SUVs like the Bentayga and even now this Urus. And they are loving it. But is it worth it?
Alright, so before we continue, let's assess the Lamborghini SUV-sized bull in the room. You see, the problem with this car is it's a contradiction. On one hand, it needs to be a Lamborghini, and on the other, it needs to be an SUV. So, it needs to be on your bedroom wall, and it needs to hold your bloody bicycles on top of it. So, let's see where this car lies. Well, I think a good starting point for any Lamborghini is its looks. You see, Lamborghinis have always been known to be outrageous. They're the type of cars you would have designed in class, unrestricted and full of imagination. And when you own them, well, they're the types of cars that when you drove past, you would break necks, and when you stopped, you would get numbers. You see, the problem is a lot of, well, Lamborghini owners have complained that they are just not flashy enough. And the main reason being is, well, because of Audi. You see, Audi owns Lamborghini, and to save money, they've shared the body of their SUV with the Urus. And that pretty much takes the Italian dinner out of, well, date night. But they have tried to confuse you by putting angles that seem to have their own angles. You see, me, I actually like the design of the Urus, but maybe that says more about me than, well, its owners. Now, it's also fair to say SUVs have always been judged equally by how much storage they have. And I'm glad to say there is definitely enough room for the junk in your trunk, even these multi-$1,000 Lamborghini branded roof racks. To make it even better, there's actually a button in here where you can lower the car in case you're a tiny little Italian man. And speaking of storage, there's even room to store your children because, well, the knee room isn't as much of a punishment as the headroom due to the sloping design. But then again, what's more Lamborghini than that? Form over function. Now, growing up with sports cars, I was always told that a sports car is defined, well, by not having cup holders. Yet this car is practical enough to have them, and it's a Lamborghini. What I do have to say, when you come to the interior, it is painfully obvious that, well, Lamborghini put a tremendous amount of effort into the quality and care of this interior. You see, every inch seems to have leather, and every inch of that leather seems to have a stitch on it. And let me show you, while I decapitate this camera for a second, just how beautiful it is in here. This specific interior has a contrast of the red and black, which looks really cool. You've embroidered headrests with the logo on them. Lamborghini's famous hexagons seem to be stitched absolutely everywhere. A Alcantara headliner, and there's even technology in this thing too, thanks to Audi. It actually has Bluetooth, GPS, cameras, and an AC that actually blows air out of it. I know that's not very Lamborghini. What is very Lamborghini is the unapologetically Italian 50 driving modes, and, well, if you wanted to choose the color of your interior as well, you'd need a translator. Now, another trademark of Lamborghini has always been their speed. Let me see if I can figure this out. Probably should have done a couple takes beforehand. Maybe not done this in one go. Okay, 1 second. I was just testing you. Here it is. Now, yes, this thing is absolutely viciously fast. It's got a twin turbocharged V8 that produces 640 horsepower and 620 pound-feet of torque. Bear with me, I'm memorizing these things. Which propels it to 190 miles an hour, making it the fastest SUV in the world. Yes, I know, Tesla nerds. Not the fastest 0 to 60. This only has a 3.6, but at least, well, the person that owns this doesn't own a Blobble X. Now, one other complaint I do have to say is, well, this engine cover. You see, we don't get to see our engines anymore, and in a Lamborghini, you want to see your bloody engine. You want to show it off at Cars and Coffee or whatever it is. And really, these little power humps here, well, where the cylinders are, more reminds me of that superhero Halloween costume you would wear when you were 6 with the fake abs. And, well, the other issue with this is it's not a Lamborghini engine. It's an Audi engine, which makes me sad because, well, it should have been a Lamborghini V12 or V10, something like that. You see, in the LM, they actually used a Countach engine, and, well, that was just outrageous because there's nothing more Lamborghini about that. You're already fighting the currents when you're making an SUV, so you really have to insert all the DNA you have. And really what I've liked to have seen is, well, a V10 variant that would have been, slower, like a Huracan, and a V12 variant from the Aventador. And, well, that would have been pretty badass. And not only that, well, they weren't able to do it because of eco standards and all this stuff, and the next gen of cars is going to have boring engines. Now, yes, it certainly doesn't sound bad, but the problem is I want my Lamborghini to sound like a symphony of horror and violence, and instead it more sounds like a guy in a sound engineering room was, well, told to give it a soul, and that's just not very Lamborghini. Now, I am proud to say that Lamborghini has definitely achieved the visibility issues still. You see, that little window in the back reminds me of a bomb shelter sized slot window, and it's got pillars in this interior that would make the Romans jealous. Now, one thing that is not very Lamborghini is they've left you a hell of a lot of room to not scrape your precious nose. And Lamborghini even says you can off-road pretty well in this thing too, although I don't see the target demographic like the Kardashians while hitting the hills anytime soon. Yes, I know, Lamborghini. I've upset you in some way. All right. We are aboard a Urus. And strangely, it's got start-stop and a Lamborghini. Not something I would have chosen, but obviously these eco standards are hitting everyone, from a Prius to a Lamborghini. Now, we're gonna do a quick video. I'm not the reviewer, but I wanna tell you kind of what's good, bad, ugly about how it drives, obviously. That has to be a component of this. And What an amazing thing. I get to drive in it right now. Big thank you to O'Gara. I just had to sign my soul away, but that's only later on, so I'm not worrying about it. Now, there's numerous modes for this thing. I just go to the bottom one because I don't speak Italian. And that basically changes the gauges. It opens the exhaust, probably does something with the steering, the chassis, whatever you want to call it. And, well, as I said, it's an absolute monster. This thing is so fast. It is so responsive. It actually feels, well, like a Lamborghini. Wow. It is so fast. Now, the other thing is, how does it handle? Now, it handles very well. Obviously, they put a hell of a lot of input into that because, well, Lamborghini's going to think a number of things when they made this car. I mean, they had so much pressure to make an SUV, and yes, they had an LM. I'm going to open the window because I don't know how to use the AC and I'm dying in here. But Lamborghini didn't exactly have, well, a starting point like, well, most of us do with Evolutions. I mean, we look at Defenders, the Land Rover Defender. You know, that thing was at least a starting point because it was around forever. They kind of tweaked it here and there. And yeah, it looked the same forever. But nonetheless, this car looks nothing like an LM because the LM just kind of stopped. There's no inputs from the LM. The LM wasn't really supposed to feel like a Lamborghini. It was for the military. This, however, has the expectations of needing to be as fast as a Lamborghini, handle like a Lamborghini, look like a Lamborghini, and, well, make you do this. That is ridiculous. Oh my God. It is absolutely a rocket ship, and it's weird to sit so high up like this. However, I don't have this intimidation feeling or this feeling that, you know, when you're in a lower, sportier car, you feel kind of enclosed around it. You feel more confident to kind of push it around corners and things like that. This car is not very intimidating. The only thing that is a problem about it as I drive through these residential roads is it's basically a Lamborghini H1 in the sense that it is very, very large. We have cars parked, well, on the sides of the roads here, and I'm barely fitting through. But people aren't really staring at me. This man just drove past me and my ego doesn't feel any better. What I have found is being in boring traffic, not being able to move, and certainly being sexually frustrated from a driving perspective, it's pretty relaxing and comfortable in here. Lamborghini seem to have inserted their DNA in a car that you don't mind sitting in for more than 10 minutes, bumper to bumper. Now, what is very Lamborghini about this car is the price tag, because the base price is $200,000, and, well, you can get a lot more dangerous than that. But what isn't very Lamborghini is its reliability, because due to Audi, I think they have officially made, well, the world's first reliable Lamborghini. Knock on wood. And I'm telling you this because, well, I scoured the web, the forums, the interweb, more like it, to see anything that's potentially gone wrong with these cars, and they are beyond solid. The only thing I could find was, well, a little while back, Lamborghini misspelled their own name on the GPS screen. And what's more Lamborghini than that? Now, I will confess this wouldn't be a good, bad, ugly episode if I did give you some cost components to owning a car like this. And you have to keep in mind, at the end of the day, just because it's reliable, it's still an exotic Lamborghini. And that comes with exotic Lamborghini maintenance costs. Now, I'm talking about routine annual services, things like rotors and pads for, well, the largest brakes ever fitted to a car. And even something like a spark plug can be a hell of a lot more expensive on a car like this. And apparently there are planes overhead. But in the meantime, I have to ask you a question. Just because you can afford to buy one of these used, can you afford to maintain it?
So is it more SUV than Lamborghini? Yes, it's just too much go and no show. It's too much Audi and no growly. But Lamborghini, like many, needed to respond to a market that lines up now every day to give their money away at the end of the day, and these companies will now always have to decide to compromise between passion and the bottom line. And now you just have something to drive alongside your Lamborghini.
That's it, guys. The good, the bad, the ugly on the Lamborghini Urus. And yes, I know it was a drama-free episode, but the point of this is not to tell you, well, that cars suck. It's to tell you the truth, what to expect when you actually drive your exotics. And today, these things are just shoved in garages. And what a better time to understand how important it is to enjoy life with things like COVID going on. Because imagine if any of us can be taken tomorrow, why we wouldn't have driven something like that today. Now guys, please check out O'Gara Coach of La Jolla. They were incredibly gracious in letting me film and loiter in their parking lot today. I absolutely love cars, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity. This car is for sale. It's absolutely an amazing spec, and well, you can check out more of their cars as well online. Now guys, if you want to see what type of equipment I use, check the Amazon links below. If you want to follow me on more things, I'm of course on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Guys, if you liked the video, give it a damn like, and well, you might as well subscribe too. Thank you so much for watching. Peace. I'm parking between a Bentley and a Rolls Royce, and I can't find first gear, so I'll use the paddle. Okay. Good thing this camera is very close to my, oh, and there's a Rolls Royce in front of me. Reverse. Oh God. Oh Jesus. And we've made it. Oh my God, we've made it. You can have your Lamborghini back.